All right, so at this point, I have like a pretty decent demo going. There's definitely a lot of room for me to improve it still, but the nature of the beast with game development is nothing's ever going to be perfect. And at this point, I think it's smart for me to make a build and kind of get it out into the public eye and try to get some feedback and feel like I have something done that I can always continue to like iterate on and make like a release version 2 or a 1.5 or whatever. Maybe I call this 1.9 and eventually I get to 1.0. But either way, it's time to make a build. I want to, I don't want to be stuck, trying to chase perfection and then therefore never finish anything. So I'm going to go to File and then choose Build Settings. And what you want to do is make sure you have the scene that you've been working in added to the build settings here, and you don't want any other scenes. So if you don't have your scene here, you hit Add Open Scenes. So now I've got Town Demo added, and I'm going to uncheck the other scenes so that our build only contains what's necessary. And so if you had multiple scenes in your game, it's important that all the scenes are added and checked. And then you need to choose the platform. And so, easiest is going to be PC, Mac, and Linux standalone, which is going to basically create, actual files that you will zip up and upload to like itch.io or wherever you want to host your game, and then the players can download that and unzip it and double click the exe file and run it. Or I could make I think a web build would be good for this too, and the beauty of the web build is that it runs in the browser. So unfortunately, a lot of people looking at stuff are in a rush and they don't have a lot of time to dedicate to downloading things, or maybe they don't trust random files. Who knows? If you can make your game run in the browser, it's probably going to get played more than if it was just a standalone build. But the other balancing factor here is we kind of went all out with these asset packs and music. This is probably a pretty big heavyweight collection of files to try and stream, so it might it may not work so well as a web build. You could try it and see what happens. So if you wanted to try to make a web build, you could hit switch platform and then build and run, and at that point you'd probably want to do a little Google search about how to get a web build onto itch.io to host it. But for us, we're going to take the path of least resistance. It's a little easier, and just make a PC, Mac, and Linux standalone build. So really all I want to do, I'm going to make sure that the little Unity symbol is on this. If it's not, you choose the platform you want and then you hit the switch platform button. But in this case, it's already activated. So instead of switch platform, I can build. And you should be able to pretty much go with all of the default settings here. So I'm going to choose build, and it's going to ask me where to put it. And I'm going to make a new, I guess it looks like I already have a directory called build here. But let's pretend I didn't. I'm just going to delete this thing and make a new folder. If you were just doing this inside of my project, what you want to be careful that you don't do is save your build inside of assets. It's kind of a common mistake people do. Your build needs to be external to your project, so definitely don't put it inside of assets. So you can put it really anywhere else if you want. You put it on your desktop, whatever you want. Just don't put it in assets. I'm going to put it inside of my project folder just to understand where, to help me find it later, basically. But I'm not putting it in any of these special folders. So I'm going to make a new folder called build. And then I'll just open that and just hit select folder. If I was going to have different types of builds, if I was going to make a Windows build and later I was going to make a WebGL build, I could make a subfolder here and just say Windows and then build it in there. So That's what I would do, but actually, I guess maybe one more thing I might do before I make this build. Sorry, I'm thinking of this at the last minute. I'm going to choose player settings, which is going to open up this little pop-up, and you could kind of make your game look a little more professional here. So you could like come up with your cool company name, and you can give it a better name than this. And you could say what version it is, and you could give it a little icon if you wanted, like for when you double click the executable file. And those are probably the big things. It's important to know that like this is going to be the name of the file that I double click to run it. And it's important, I think, to make this file name match whatever you come up with as the title of your game. It looks unprofessional if this says like default game or project 2 or test scene or whatever. Like, you know, like come up with something that seems like it's a real thing. So update your player settings to have, you know, this kind of info set up, and it would be better to add a new icon, but I'm gonna be lazy. Doesn't mean you should. And I will hit build, and this time I am going to go back into this Windows folder I made and hit select folder, and it's going to kind of go through a process of making the build. So my computer is sort of like seemingly frozen, but it's just waiting to do this stuff. Sometimes builds take a long time, sometimes they're fast. It kind of depends on what is in your game and how fast your computer is. So I'll just pause it until this thing's done. And so now it's done. As promised, I have this file called zombiefest.exe. You know, it's where I said it would be. And if I double click it, it should run my game. So let's just confirm that works. So it's pretty much working. I'm not crazy about how I can see a little bit of my game before the fade in starts. That might be something I post on the dialogue system forums and ask for some advice about. Because the fade is happening through the dialogue system sequencer command. And I would add that the forum is very responsive. The person who runs dialogue system is very responsive there, so he may have some advice for me about how to fix this. All right, so this is my build. But I guess the next step is to like actually get it out there to people. Maybe that's going to be in the final video that I make here. So before I stopped this video, it occurred to me that we cut some corners and didn't make any kind of like pause menu or way to exit the game. In theory, I could like open up my quest menu and all that, but that doesn't actually give me a way to quit. So just in case you don't know how to get out of this, what I would probably do is hold Alt and then press Tab. And that will switch windows, and then you could kind of mouse over this thing and then just close it. So Alt Tab, that's how you can get out of there.